Welcome to The Backlash, a weekly show about America's awakening. I'm your host, David J. Riley. Rebecca is off today. Cameron's off today, too. I'm holding down the fort here alone at Backlash headquarters. Rebecca's been trapped in her car for more than an hour now. She's been trapped in the car for 24 hours. Her phone's dead. Nobody can get a hold of her, and Grok has turned her into an Asian. So we're unsure if whether or not she'll ever be back. No, I'm kidding. But no, we'll be back on Wednesday. And Wednesday's going to be a really big show. Obviously, Rebecca will be here. Cameron will be here. But we're also supposed to have a very special guest, which doesn't normally happen on Wednesdays. But gubernatorial candidate in Florida, James Fishback, is supposed to be joining us for a little bit, talk about his platform. We'll quiz him, try to get to the bottom of what's going on with his campaign. So please join us for that. Make sure that you are following us across all of our platforms on X at Real Backlash. Of course, our website, thebacklash.net. Please support our show on Subscribestar or on patreon.com. Please send some super chats. We've got a wonderful guest for you today. So if you want any questions answered by him or me, you can do that by visiting thebacklash.net/super chat, or I think we're live on Rebecca's channel and the Backlash Rumble channel, so you can send us Rumble rants and all kinds of stuff over there. Make sure you're following us across all of our platforms. We're on all of your favorite apps, except for Spotify, because we got banned for dangerous content on Spotify. But we're still up everywhere else: Rumble, Apple Podcasts, YouTube, TikTok. Make sure you're following us on Rumble, by the way. Backlash Podcast over there. Real Backlash on YouTube. Thank you so much for joining us today. We do have to give a quick shout out to our sponsors. Number one being Idaho Tallow Company, soap and skincare without endocrine disruptors. Fantastic stuff. Atlas Bullion, your go-to place for buying gold and silver on the internet. Above Time Coffee Roasters, they make hand-roasted small batch pro-white coffee. So you can get to them at abovetimecoffee.com and use promo code Backlash10 for 10% off. ODGG Supply, if you are getting prepped in case you're worried that Donald Trump is going to kidnap the mayor of your city and send you into a spiral of regime change, perhaps in Seattle or Chicago, you can get prepped with ODGG Supply. They've got all kinds of fun stuff: rucksacks, bags, blankets, whatever. And, of course, Antelope Hill. They're amazing. They publish pro-white content. They bring historical stuff to the forefront that you should be aware of. So anyway, with all of that housekeeping taken care of, I'm going to introduce today's guest. Of course, it would be easier if I was prepared. Today's guest is Christian Secor. He is a former activist with the MAGA Revolution who helped organize the groyping of Donald Trump Jr. and Charlie Kirk at UCLA. He led the charge to radicalize college Republican chapters across the country in the wake of the COVID lockdowns. And heeding the call to assemble at the Capitol on January 6th, he defiantly mocked the chair of Vice President Mike Pence, making him a high-level target for the feds. After being stalked by NPR and then abducted by a FBI SWAT team, armed with armored cars and a helicopter, he spent the next 4 years in various forms of incarceration, including 19 months in federal prison. During this incarceration, he became a writer with Countercurrents magazine and is now a featured author at Antelope Hill. His book, of course, is The American Regime, which you can get with our friends at Antelope Hill. His writing focuses on squaring the circle of traditionalism and cyclical history and techno-futurism. So, Christian, thank you so much for joining us today.
Hey, Dave. It's good to be on. It's my favorite podcast for politics.
Get out. There's no way. There's no way.
The only podcast I listen to for politics are this one and maybe Devin Stack every once in a while.
Yeah.
And that's pretty much it. Well, and the Countercurrents podcast, of course, pretty good.
Yeah, we've been talking behind the scenes. We really do need to get Greg Johnson on here. He's been around for a very long time, so I think it'd be good to talk with him. So the main reason, I'm still sick. Sorry about that. I've got a cough. The reason why we're talking today, of course, is because this is what happens when you're trying to produce a show. without a co-host to blah, blah, blah. The main reason we're talking today is because tomorrow is the 5th anniversary of January 6th. CBS News has put out a new article about this. 5 years later, a stubborn fight over the basic facts of the January 6th riot. Of course, CBS, which is now under control of the Jews, Barry Weiss, and all of these types of people, who I forget who bought that out. It was a Paramount Plus. What's the guy's name? Larry Ellison's son, David. Anyway, here they are writing this op-ed, talking about a poisonous, lingering resentment over the riot, that Donald Trump and the administration have weaponized the Department of Justice, accusing the Biden administration of weaponizing the Department of Justice, obviously. And it says, in the process, Trump and his surrogates have espoused arguments that are inconsistent with the facts of the case. So you were there, right? And I don't think we've had anybody on the show yet to talk about January 6th. Tell us what happened. What did you see? Why did you go there? Can you walk us through what you saw that day?
Yeah, so January 6th, it sprouted out of the Stop the Steal movement. And the Stop the Steal movement sprouted out of the curfew breakers movement, which was like a COVID-19 protest. And so there were a few protests before January 6th at DC. I actually think I ran into you for like a split second in one of these in like November, October. I was like, "Hey, Dave Riley, what's up?"
Yeah, the Million MAGA March.
Right.
Yep. I was there.
So there was that, and then I don't know if they had one in. I think people were planning on doing one for the inauguration, and then out of nowhere, everybody started saying January 6th, and it caught so much steam that everybody was like, okay, I guess it's on the 6th now. It's not on the 20th, which was, in retrospect, kind of weird because it came out of nowhere. So that kind of feeds into the conspiracy theory of like FedOp, which I don't know if it was being planned out that early. Could be, but there was something weird about that. Like I didn't know anybody who was pushing going there on the 6th as opposed to the 20th until like basically every Telegram chat was talking about going there on the 6th. So that was kind of weird. I went there the day before to go to the speech, and we didn't get in. We weren't really there to listen to Trump rant, to be honest. We were there to do a protest. And out of nowhere, I hear someone say, like, there's already people at the Capitol. And so we rush over there, and there's this whole chaos and commotion of tear gas and rubber bullets. And I'm kind of like a thrill chaser, so I want to like push as close to the front lines as I could. And they say like, oh, you broke through these barricades, and you pushed through police, and you broke through into the Capitol, and none of that was true. But it's a kangaroo court, so there's not really anything you could do. I didn't even see any barricades. Like someone pushed them to the side way before. Police just backed off, so they were letting us climb up the steps into the Capitol, and then they literally opened the doors, which all video evidence of magically disappeared, I guess.
Right.
Yeah, we walked around the inside for a little bit. It was really cool. And then the police said, okay, this is going to be a illegal assembly, so you guys have to leave. And we left. And it all seemed normal until we got back to our hotel room. We turned on the TV, and I went with a few friends. None of them actually went inside. We got lost, and there was no cell reception. So I just found them on the other side of the Capitol where I got shot out. We went, we turned on the TV, and our reaction was just like, what? They're calling us terrorists? And at first, I don't think we understood the gravity of it, because we were like, oh, well, we don't want to get fined, so we should probably leave DC and go to Virginia. Like, that was our reaction. Not, oh, we'd be facing 20 years in prison. And I flew home without a hitch, and then I got rolled up about a month later.
Wow.
And that basically begins the prisoner or political prisoner storyline.
Well, and so what was it like to get black bagged by the American government? Is that basically what happened? Did they come to your house? Did they get you at work? Tell us about that a little bit.
Yeah, they came to my house in a very cliche 6 a.m. dawn raid, right? With a couple crazy armored cars. I don't think the FBI has MRAPs. I think they're like Meerkat armored cars or something. It's like the same thing. Like if you've seen an MRAP, these are pretty serious, like
a Bearcat
terror armored cars, and a helicopter. They surrounded my house with like 20 FBI agents with their like Mark 18s. I don't know if I think you're into guns. You've seen like the crazy like Daniel Defense, or not Daniel Defense. What is it? Geisley Rail FBI Mark 18s with like IR lasers and all of this crazy gizmos that I don't know if these people even knew how to use. Most of these people did not look like law enforcement. They looked like the lobby of a Starbucks, which a lot of people have noted the same thing. It seems like the FBI is like a mixed bag of like Stasi libtards and actual like former military law enforcement.
That's incredible. That's so, I remember at the time that was going on, I was over visiting family over one town over. And as I was pulling up, I saw one of these raids happen because there was a lot of people that were involved from Idaho. Famously, of course, there was that old grandma, right? MAGA granny Pam. I forget her last name, right?
The traitor.
Yeah, and she got psyoped into this whole thing. Let me see if I can pull up the MAGA granny, just for those of you unaware. She was
so sad. It's so sad how like easy it is to one-shot boomers. It's crazy.
Totally. I mean, and she's now, there's videos of, so this woman was like initially like an Ammon Bundy supporter. She was pro-Trump. She was pro-freedom, pro-liberty, all this stuff. And she goes to January 6th. She filmed it. She got raided, thrown in jail. I think she only spent like 60 days in jail, though. And when she came out, it was like she was a completely different person. She now goes to the Pride events in Boise. She is pro-pedophilia. She is okay with the kids on stage dressed as women, twerking and taking dollar tips. Totally one-shotted. And there's no way to reason with her. I've spoken with her several times. She's gone. I don't know if they MK Ultra'd her or they did.
They did say MK Ultra.
I don't know, man, but it's crazy. Totally different person. But so anyway, I was driving over to see family. And as I'm like coming down the street, I look over and there was an MRAP, 3 or 4 sheriff's cars, battering ram. Everybody was in like camo, and there was a black unmarked Suburban. So it's like, okay, this is more than just the local sheriff. This is the feds coming in and taking somebody. And I watched them take him, put him in the truck, and he was gone. My paranoia levels got to the point where like my wife and I wouldn't even talk. We were like, we had like a whiteboard, and we were writing notes to each other on the whiteboard because we were afraid that like, and I didn't even go, for those of you who are aware, I went to Charlottesville. So I kind of saw this January 6th coming a mile away, and I was like telling people to stay away from it. Because you never know, these crowds of people, they can turn like that. I've filmed a lot of these riots that happened in 2018 in Portland and Seattle. And it's incredibly unpredictable, highly volatile. And for anybody that's a part of this movement, whatever it is, America First, pro-liberty, pro-freedom, being in situations like that is just way too dangerous. You're going to get black-bagged. You'll go to jail. So tell us about that. Tell us about, so the FBI show up at your house, 6 o'clock raid. They treat you like Roger Stone. They put you in jail. What happens next? Tell us about that.
Yeah, so for about, I think it was 39, 40 days, I was kept, pretty sure it was like an 8th Amendment violation, just in solitary confinement with 3 hours outside of my cell a week for like 4 or 5 weeks, which was pretty insane. I was allowed to talk on the phone only during those hours. So I got like a few minutes, like every other day. They just kept me in solitary confinement. No explanation why. They wouldn't give me a razor, which was crazy. No explanation why. I asked for one. They said, "Oh yeah, we'll get you a razor." Never got it for me. I had to use some like weird chemical to shave my face, which caused like all of these like sores on my face for my bail hearing. The first bail hearing, I wasn't given bail for because they said I was dangerous, I guess, even though I had no criminal history and was a college student. And the second time, I got bail, but it was like $300,000, including bail and bond. I was a unemployed college student, so I don't know how that was legal, but that's what they gave to me. And of course, my family bailed me out. And then after that, I was on house arrest for 18 months. And then after that, I was in a regular federal prison for another 18 months. And then after that, I finally was let out early because of, ironically, some of the programs that Trump instituted. And then I was in a halfway house and house arrest for like another 6-7 months.
That's incredible.
Yeah, it was crazy.
And this was for, and I feel like a lot of people forget just how crazy all of this was. I've got some footage here that I'll put on the screen. You'll remember the American regime, right? Nancy Pelosi, Biden, they called January 6th the worst day in American history since Pearl Harbor. And what we just saw on the screen was these people that were let into the Capitol walking nicely and neatly between the velvet ropes. And I know a few people who were, other people who were at January 6th that did not get the same treatment that you did. Notably, Idaho Senator Ben Taves and his wife Alicia, they were there, but they weren't arrested. They're Zionists, of course. But the stories are all the same, that people showed up, the police removed the barricades, they opened the doors, they let people in, people were fairly respectful, they complied with what the officers wanted, and then after the fact, this whole thing was turned into a witch hunt. And there was a lot of other stuff that happened too. I don't know if I have the article up, but the January 6th thing, what I do, it was the largest federal investigation in U.S. history, which is just incredible to me. It was so wide-ranging.
You know what's funny about that? I think they had 40% of all FBI assets working on that case. And I just saw a thing, I forget what it was, but it's like this hacker that goes after child predators. He said that the FBI case on the entire national child grooming and sexual abuse case in the entire country is like 7 people.
Jeez.
And they purposefully limit it.
That's incredible.
Which tells you everything you need to know about the American regime, right?
Right. And we're going to get into your book a little bit more as we continue. One of the other things that I wanted to bring up with this whole thing in, I guess, kind of setting the record straight about January 6th, that it was a narrative operation. This was not an insurrection. This was not the overthrow of the American government. This was a protest that was sanctioned by the President of the United States, who said that he would be there with you and we will, peacefully and patriotically make our voices heard at the Capitol. And he initiated the march.
And what it was supposed to be, it was supposed to be a sit-in, not to overthrow the government. All we were asking for is do an audit of the election. Oh, whoops, we deleted all of the files. All right, well, that's not good enough, so you're going to have to find the files. Oh, no, we'll just arrest all of you.
Unbelievable. And
that's what people forget is we weren't asking for a overthrow of the election or of the government or anything. We just wanted like some proof that this election actually went the way that it supposedly did.
Right. Right. And I remember too, I was here in Idaho. I gave a speech that day, and I remember seeing on my phone as all this was going on. I thought that this was a fairly normal thing. And of course, the leftists do this all the time. We saw video after video of leftists going into Capitol buildings, doing sit-ins. They've done it for the Gaza genocide. They've done it for when Trump was elected. All the time, the left is able to go into these buildings. They can do sit-ins. They can do protests. And there's no issues whatsoever. But as soon as the right wing, MAGA, whatever that represented at the time, they come down like a ton of bricks. Mobilize 40% of the FBI. It's just incredible. Now, something else that happened that day that I think has been swept under the rug, or that maybe people forget about, was the operation with Parler that took place. Because at the time, Parler had become a really big app that people were using, right? Twitter was censoring everybody. They had just removed the president from social media. And so people were using all of these alternative apps for organizing, for posting content and whatnot. And Parler was basically the number one alternative to Twitter at the time. And we now know that Parler exposed people's metadata and their user posts, and it was critical for tracking and identifying January 6th Capitol rioters, which is interesting.
Hey, you know what's interesting about that, to get into the like the psyops and gay ops?
Yeah.
So Parler, this chick who I knew, and it's about to be revealed, she was the assistant to the Jew who started Parler, right? Or was at least the CEO. She went on to be the press secretary, I think, for the Department of Defense or the Navy. So who is this chick? Kingsley Wilson, who was my former fellow student at UCLA. And now she has basically taken on this grift of being like based and red-pilled, and she knows about the Zionists and about race. She would debate with me vigorously about warmongering and fighting for the Zionists. And at UCLA, she was like the worst of the worst. And now I guess she's reinvented herself as based in red pill. She got into like an actual physical altercation with, Grayson. You know Grayson, right? What was his last name? American Grayson. I forget what his real name is, but
I might know him on X or something.
He's friends with my friend Ryan Sanchez. He's got a pretty big Telegram channel. But
okay.
Whatever the case, and this chick, number one, apparently she wasn't smart enough to get into UCLA. So how'd she get in? Well, her dad is a high up in the GOP and basically bought her way in. That's how she got to where she is now. So my theory on this is that her family connections were like, hey, the like dissident sphere is going to be the big thing, especially with young people. So the old grift that you were doing is not going to fly anymore. You have to adopt what the youngins are taking on, which is our based and red-pilled anti-Zionist, not anti-Jew, just anti-Zionist, whatever that means.
Right. Now, see, this is one of those moments when I wish Rebecca was here, because we could get an in-depth commentary on this chick's eyebrows. They look fake. They look painted on. Not really sure what's going on here. Forehead looks a little proportionally off. Maybe we could get Clavicular to do a rating on this chick. But yeah, so I mean, Parler was being pushed at the time also by Yair Netanyahu, Bibi Netanyahu's son. I believe he also was promoting the January 6th insurrection, protest, whatever the fuck. Are you aware, because there's been a lot of talk behind the scenes about Israeli involvement in January 6th, not just the FBI, not just CIA, not just, the American feds, but that there were potentially Mossad assets there that day that were riling people up. Are you aware of any of those theories? Can you shed any light on that?
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised. I've heard theories of like Ukrainian assets as well. I don't know if that's true or not. the bottom line, though, is it's pretty clear that the Israelis wanted Trump to win in 2016, and that's how he was able to win. They didn't want him to win because he was too hot in 2020, and so he lost. And then obviously in 2024, he won because the Israelis wanted him in power.
Yeah, and it's so interesting too with all of this that's going on in Venezuela. There's this narrative out there that the reason Donald Trump kidnapped Maduro and did these strikes on Caracas was because of Dominion or Smartmatic voting machines. That Venezuela rigged our elections. I mean, I just...
Yeah, I think that's goofy. I've heard that too, and I'm just like, I don't know, man. That sounds kind of like QAnon, Jason Bourne, so I don't buy into that at all.
Yeah, I don't know, man. There was something about like Italian satellites, right, that got like hacked. Bro, like the amount of slop that is out there that people are just uncritically eating up is
it's
really
those brown-eyed, curly-haired Italians with their big noses.
Oh my gosh. But yeah, so Parler exposed everybody that was there. They got hacked. People got tracked down for that, thrown in jail, black bagged. Now, are you aware? Are there any J6 political prisoners that are still in jail, or have they all been freed at this point?
So there's at least one guy who was taken in on a BS gun charge that only stemmed from the warrant from January 6th. I don't think that he's gotten a federal pardon on his gun charge, which I don't agree with any gun laws for law-abiding people. So I would count that.
Yeah. Now, did you get, I know it's not, I guess I have to press a button here. Donald Trump, one of the very first things that he did the day after he was inaugurated this go-around was supposedly granting clemency to everybody that was involved in January 6th. Is that true? Did you get clemency? Did this work out for you?
Yeah, it was a full and unconditional pardon, which was honestly more than I was expecting. But I think there's like 4 to 8 people, including Enrique Tarrio, who didn't get like a full pardon. I think they just got like I don't know if it was like a lesser pardon or if it was some other type of clemency. But the numbers didn't align. There was like a certain number of people who were officially J6ers, and it was off by a few. And I think Enrique Tarrio and who's the Oath Keeper guy with the eye patch?
Oh, Reynolds? No, not Reynolds. Yeah, let me look it up real quick.
I forget what his name is, but I don't think he got full clemency either. Some of like the super persecuted people who were facing like insane charges.
Right, this guy, Stuart Rhodes.
Yeah, I don't think that some of those people got like full clemency.
Interesting. Yeah, that's crazy. Convicted of, look at this, convicted of seditious conspiracy and obstructing a federal proceeding. And that's, I think, what ties back to January 6th. That's unbelievable.
Yeah, people who got those like crazy Gitmo charges didn't get full clemency. But everybody, I think, who got my charge, which was BS anyways, but it was obstruction of an official proceeding, those people got full clemency.
Interesting. Now I wonder, like, does this apply to people that weren't ever charged? Like, so if there was somebody that was at January 6th and they were never charged with being there, they're off the hook at this point? Because, like, I've been keeping my mouth shut.
There were some groypers who I had known, like, all the way back, like, a couple years who the FBI was, like, totally off about them. They're like, we know, you know who these people are. Who are they? And they literally thought one of them was a woman, which is an L for that guy because he was wearing like this big that was kind of feminine in retrospect, which is funny. But yeah, I wouldn't give anybody up. Fuck the FBI.
Yeah, no, fuck these people. And so now we have a new American regime, right? We have the Biden regime is out. The Trump regime is in. Kash Patel, Dan Bongino he just, I guess, retired or resigned. He's going back to podcasting. But remember, podcasts don't have any effect on politics. They're just insignificant. things that happen on the internet with no real world value. That's why the deputy director of the FBI resigned to go start his podcast again. Sure. But what are your thoughts about this new FBI? What are your thoughts about Kash Patel and the way that they've been handling this too? Because it seems like there was a limited hangout, right? Like FBI director, former FBI director Christopher Wray got up at the House Select hearings on January 6th and said that there were absolutely no FBI agents that were present during January 6th. And then after Kash Patel became director, he said that there was over 200 FBI agents that were there, but they weren't there instigating anything bad. They were there as crowd control. Do we believe this? Has there been any change in the FBI? Do you think that Kash Patel is frankly any different than what we were seeing under the Biden administration?
Yeah, Kash Patel is weird because I don't know if you remember during the Las Vegas shooting that one cop who supposedly shot Paddock, and then like the next day he looked like he's seen a ghost and he doesn't want to talk. That kind of seems like what happened to Kash Patel. I don't know what like MK Ultra techniques that they're using, but it was really weird. You know, he went into the FBI saying that he would clear the swamp. He said, what was it? He wanted to turn the FBI headquarters, probably the ugliest building ever, by the way, into a museum of the deep state. He said that he was going to release all the Epstein files. And literally, he looks like they have him by the nuts. It's really weird. They're doing the very bare minimum, probably less than the bare minimum. It's nice that they admitted that there was 200 FBI agents in the crowd. The crowd control excuse seems like BS. I can't imagine them using special agents as crowd control at a protest. That seems weird. Yeah, I don't buy it at all. I've seen videos of basically people dressed as Trump supporters in the Capitol handing out baseball bats and clubs from a basement window to other Trump supporters, people dressed as Trump supporters in the crowd before anybody had entered the Capitol. This is all on video and has been for at least 4 years.
That's unbelievable. Yeah, I remember seeing some of that stuff as it came out. Here's the quote from Kash Patel that FBI agents were sent in to a crowd control mission after the riot was declared by Metro Police. This was a failure of corrupt leadership that lied to Congress and the American people. And of course, you know, we also know now that the Capitol Police and Nancy Pelosi and these types of people, they had the opportunity to call up the National Guard, I think 20,000 troops. And they knew that there would be at least 250,000 people in D.C. that day. January 6th was promoted by official channels. Like, it was officially promoted by the Trump campaign. It was officially promoted by all of these other nonprofits and prayer groups that got together. So they knew that people were coming. And they chose instead to have a skeleton crew at the Capitol. And yeah, I don't buy it. I don't buy that there weren't some sort of assets. You know, I know a priest actually, and again, you know, hoping that I'm not about to get a knock at the door here, but I know a priest that was at January 6th. And he told me that he saw the Capitol Police open the gates, that he saw with his own eyes Antifa people that were there instigating and engaging in some of these activities like you were describing, riling people up, smashing windows, that these people were not real MAGA supporters. Also,
well, not only that, but DC is one of these cities like Portland where, I mean, I know you've been to the A Million MAGA March. You've seen the cops in DC. Very weird demographics of people. A lot of dykes and
yes,
weird-looking people.
Blue Antifa, we call them.
Right.
And, you know, especially after being at Charlottesville and seeing what happened there, where the Virginia State Police were, you know, they had battalions of these people standing on either side of Lee Park. Batons, riot shields, you know, helmets, full gear. And they were standing down the entire time until they declared it an unlawful assembly, even though they had a permit for Charlottesville. And then when they finally did activate the Virginia State Police, it was to push the alt-right into the crowd of Antifa and force a confrontation. And it seems almost identical to the playbook that was used at January 6th, except that there was no Antifa there. You know, it was just an empty building. You know,
there's a lot of classified tactics. I wonder if there literally is like an SOP for like taking one side over the other and what to do.
Yeah, I mean, if only there was somebody in the FBI that could reveal this kind of stuff. If only, you know, we got our guy elected president and, you know, we could get some disclosure on the kind of tactics that the American regime uses.
Well, that's why I don't have any patience for like what about the based people in the FBI? Where are the leaks?
Right. They're not there. A couple of other angles of January 6th that I wanted to talk about with you is this one. Of course, this made news all around the world. Everybody knows that supposedly 4 police officers who responded to the Capitol attack died. I guess this one is that 4 of them have died by suicide. But there was also a lot of talk about Officer Brian Sicknick, who allegedly was murdered by January 6 protesters. But I think a lot of people have it confused. Officer Sicknick died the day after, number one. He did not die at the Capitol. He was not murdered by MAGA protesters, as far as I'm aware. I'm not entirely sure what happened. I don't know. Did he get hit in the head with like a fire extinguisher or something?
That's what they were trying to pin it on.
Right. But I'm not entirely sure if that's the case. Now, there is somebody that I'm aware of that did die at January 6th, and I've heard absolutely nobody nationwide talk about him, and that is 50-year-old Ben Phillips from Bloomsburg, Pennsylvania. Ben Phillips was at January 6th. He was, I believe, on the steps, and he got tear gassed by the police. That's a picture of him. Ben Phillips, he created this weird thing called Trumparoo. It was a little plush doll. Yeah, here you go. You can kind of see. It was like a plush doll kangaroo of Donald Trump with the goofy hair. Kind of cute, whatever. But he was there at January 6th. He got tear gassed and he died that day. So the Capitol Police were killing people. And not just Ben Phillips, but we also had Ashley Babbitt, who got shot in the head by who? We still don't know, I think. It might have been that black guy, right?
I think it was the black guy, Officer Byrd.
Yeah, okay. So it's just amazing to me how weird and how skewed. And I think most of the MAGA people get it. Most of the Republican people get it. They understand that this whole thing was a narrative operation, that what happened and the reality of January 6th and what was presented in the media are two completely different things. But these Democrats, they still hold to it. I still see people like in Boise, Mayor McLean, they talk about January 6th and the insurrection all the time. They use it as a pretext. And it's just astounding to me. So what did you learn about the American regime? What's your book about? Of course, your book is available at Antelope Hill Publishing, called The American Regime. I think you initially published this pseudonymously or anonymously, and then took credit for it after the fact. But tell us what inspired the book, what it's about, and some of your thoughts.
Yeah, so I've been a big reader for a long time. While I was at UCLA, I didn't get a lot of time to read stuff that wasn't in the curriculum, but it did kind of radicalize me to see like how, for lack of a better term, ratchet the left was. And these were the people who controlled our country, even though, you know, Donald Trump was nominally in power, and in California, the Democrats are always going to be in power. And when I got rolled up, it gave me a lot of time to do some research on like what went wrong? Why am I being held, basically having my Eighth Amendment rights revoked? What's going on here? And so I did kind of like a soul search on America. And the themes that I basically focused on were the history of America, what led up to this. And so I focused on number one, America being a dyed-in-the-wool liberal country. Some people will fight me on that. The founding fathers, they can't. There's a little bit more nuance than to just say they were like libtards, but they were liberal for their time, and so the left does have some validity to their argument that they're in the true tradition of America. And then I looked at the foundation myths of America. So what you find is the foundation myths of the United States. The themes basically degenerate. So at first you have kind of like a maybe like a aristocratic / bourgeois nationalism, and then at the Civil War you get more of like based on equality, and then you get the civil rights and World War II, and you get white guilt from the Holocaust, even though the U.S. didn't participate in the Holocaust. And you get the civil rights, right, which is about not just equality but equity. And what I found was we kind of are in the midst of a new cultural foundation myth, right? During the not that just the BLM, but it was like a second civil rights movement. People don't remember; they forget very quickly how insane 2020 and 2019 and 2021 were. It was pretty nuts. And I think that we kind of lost that culture war because there wasn't really a true answer to it. Even with this Trump regime right now, nothing's been rolled back really. We're getting some deportations, but that's it. But all of the cultural stuff that, was avant-garde in 2020 is basically just like the new normal now.
Yeah, it is really interesting to be seeing a lot of these talking heads that have adopted the talking points of Richard Spencer circa 2017. Not that it's a bad thing that they've adopted the talking points, but they've adopted them after the fact once they've become meaningless.
Right.
Like a lot of the...
they're allowed to talk about them makes you wonder if like the people in charge think they just have it on lock.
Yeah. Well, and it's also just like a lot of... how do I say this politely? You catch my drift here, where there's no change that's actually happening. I mean, we just saw today, there's a video now circulating of Lindsey Graham and Donald Trump and Howard Lutnick on Air Force One talking about going into Cuba, talking about Iran. It seems like the neocons totally won. And they figured out that they can just go on Twitter, they can go on Truth Social, or even on mainstream media, and parrot these talking points that the alt-right pioneered, 6-7 years ago, and it totally pacifies the MAGA base. They don't ask any questions.
Sorry.
No, go ahead.
So what's funny about that too is a large portion of my book is examining power, and I come at it from like an NRX Curtis Yarvin, not worldview, but I basically give it like a, devil's advocate of the NRX worldview. And at that time, Curtis Yarvin, everybody knew that he was half Jewish, but he still said some interesting things that seriously influenced the alt-right. And so I go through it and I say, yeah, there's a lot of truth here, but he's half Jewish and he's not talking about the elephant in the room. We'll come to find out a few years later, all of these tech guys are aping Curtis Yarvin, and he's big with Barry Weiss's Choose with New York Times, right? They're like writing all these puff pieces about Curtis Yarvin. And does it translate into any wins for the alt-right? No, it's all, actually, you can use Curtis Yarvin's philosophy of the patchwork society to create a techno-feudalism where the right wing is basically just squashed, but it's okay. You just have to be a hobbit and let the dark elves read Jews do everything, and you're going to be okay, right?
All right.
Don't ask us what our plans are. Just trust in Curtis Yarvin that you have a good representative with the tech overlords, and just shut up.
Wow. Yeah. I mean, it does seem like that. And the pressure too. There's like a lot of pressure that's like building up on social media, on X specifically, where if you're noticing these things, if you're coming out and saying, hey, I don't think that this Venezuela thing is really in our interest. The Iran stuff is obviously not in our interest. And that whole sphere, the Bronze Age Barry Weiss network, to quote our friend Basil, it activates. And you get these people like, what's his name? Captive Dreamer, Mr. Forehead, coming out, aping all the talking points, pretending to be pro-Hitler, pro-Nazi, all of this stuff, and then just, sucking up to the American regime, sucking up to the Zionist regime that controls America, and basically saying that if you don't like what Donald Trump is doing, that you're brown, you're third worldist, you are whatever, as opposed to actually like engaging with any of the discussion, with any of the talking points. It is getting extremely sophisticated, the gay ops, the talking points, these networks of influence.
Well, that's another great example of like a suspected gay op on my part, because I don't think that Captive Dreamer gets paid any money. I just think he does it for the love of the game. And I don't think there's like any conspiracy of him working for these tech overlords or neocons. I think that they just find people who just so happen, like basically through evolutionary pressure, to say what they want, and they allow those people to shine. And something that made me like weird about him, I used to really like his content just because I thought it was funny. And I posted a picture of like a bunch of books that I had read in house arrest, and he comes at me and he's like, these don't have any creases on the spine. You didn't read these. And I'm like, why are you like shitting on people trying to actually study stuff?
Right.
Like, shouldn't we be trying to actually have some kind of way to contend with the intellectual left? But no, he just like comes at me, which I thought was really weird. And also, like, I was in house arrest for 18 months. Like, is it really that surprising that I would read a bunch of books? Were you not capable of reading a bunch of books? He tries to come off as like an intellectual or whatever.
I'm not sure. I am not sure if he is capable of reading books, but he is definitely capable of being in the group chats and parroting the talking points that the BAP sphere wants parroted. It's pretty funny.
You know what I think is going to be the future of that sphere? I've already kind of heard it from someone who I consider a friend, so I'm not shitting on him. He's in tech, and so I kind of get a little bit of what they're thinking. I think that it's going to be like, oh, actually, the future of the white race is the Democrats, because the Democrats are evil, and Patrick Bateman, and that's based. It's like, well, didn't we get into this from the beginning because the left were evil and we didn't want to be evil, but now being evil is like based in alpha?
Yeah, it does seem like there is that angle being pushed. And there's also another Fed op that's being pushed right now that is deeply related to January 6th. And I think we're going to go more into depth with this in the future, and hopefully you've got something that you can help shed some light on this. But that would be this character that has popped up out of nowhere, kind of like this Nick Shirley guy, right? Who pops up out of nowhere, exposing all of the fraud at the Somalian daycares, and there is fraud there. But that was a story that came out in 2014, and it seems that this has been kosher approved. You got the kosher stamp to hate Somalians now. Of course, that's all out of the media. That's gone. It's been obliterated now that we've gone into Venezuela. But this other op that seems to be going on is this guy Jake Lang. Jake Lang, he's got that he was a January 6th political prisoner in his headline. He was arrested. He did go to jail. But he's out here now. This is just from over the weekend. He led a march on AIPAC where he's saying, we're outside of AIPAC headquarters in Washington, D.C. We demand AIPAC stop paying off our congressmen like a bunch of OnlyFans prostitutes. Talmudic Jewish lobbyists have opened our borders to every brown mongrel to replace white people in Europe and the USA. He's really leaning into the racism. He's really leaning into the hate, I guess, if you will. He's also been up in Dearborn, Michigan, stirring up division between Christians and Muslims. He's been trying to provoke the Islamic community, I think. He wants them to commit an act of terrorism. And, of course, it's all come out since that this guy, Jake Lang, is literally a Zionist Jew.
Right.
I mean, what are we doing here? We've got Jews leading protests against AIPAC and stirring up division in Dearborn, Michigan, and leaning into this white racism thing. Can you share some thoughts on this? Were you in jail with Jake Lang? Did you ever meet this guy while you were locked up? Can you shed some light?
No, so he was in the DC Gulag, which was a different facility than where I was. But I know I had some mutuals who were in there with him, and they had nothing but bad things to say about him. They said that he admitted to being like former Antifa. Apparently, he's from like a well-connected Jewish family in the Northeast. Definitely gay op territory there. I would not touch him with a 40-foot pole. I think he, number one, he has like a huge following on Twitter, like a unnaturally huge following, which is always a red flag. Some of these J6 accounts, they have like hundreds of thousands to maybe even like millions of followers. Another one is, what is it? Insurrection Barbie. She has like over 1 million followers, and she just like posts Hasbara all day.
Yeah, Insurrection Barbie. I didn't know that. So she was a January 6th person?
Yeah, she actually apparently did a few months in prison.
Oh, wow. Well, that's interesting. Because, yeah, all I ever see about Insurrection Bar, it's just like the most obvious Hasbara Israeli bullshit.
Right.
Going on and on about Iran, going on and on about Hezbollah and Hamas and October 7th and all this stuff. There's a tweet here from Gen X Girl. She's been posting some really good stuff, by the way. Who is Insurrection Barbie? Her name is Irina Pavchinskaya. Russian? Is she Russian? She pled guilty to felony theft in 2017, disbarred in 2017, charged with fraud and forgery, then felony theft. Then she comes out in 2022 as Insurrection Barbie on X, and she peddles pro-Israel propaganda and has 1 million followers. It definitely seems like that there is an operation going on to kind of co-opt whatever racist wing of MAGA is still out there, and then give them because the Israelis want the aid to stop. By the way, if you're not aware, Bibi Netanyahu has come out and said things about the aid to Israel. Jonathan Pollard,
that's a break memo. They've wanted the aid to stop. They don't want to be beholden to the U.S.
Correct. Yeah, they don't like the strings attached, and so now you've got people like Jake Lang coming out and protesting outside of AIPAC, asking for an end to the aid, an end to AIPAC and all of this stuff, which essentially, the way that I see it is that Israel is creating a new empire, and they're using the muscle of the United States to do it. We've been seeing the Abraham Accords, we've been seeing the Isaac Accords in South America, the Venezuela stuff. There was all kinds of Freudian slips that were happening on television over the weekend, where people were saying that this is going to be great for the Israeli people. The Venezuelans. Mike Huckabee came out and said it. There was even a memo, I believe, that was released by the White House talking about how Venezuela's interaction with Hezbollah and some of these other groups in the Middle East, that was the reason why we did what we did. But it seems like they are constructing a new empire, and the moment that the United States cuts them loose, the moment that the MAGA patriots finally end aid to Israel, that Israel is then going to take a step forward on the world stage and have a global empire.
I don't even think that idea of like the Neo-Judean Empire is even controversial at this point. I think it's actually kind of part of future U.S. foreign policy. They want to be able to wrap up the Middle East so they can focus on China, and Israel is going to be their little island.
Yeah.
But maybe not so little, though. Maybe kind of a big island in the Middle East.
Well, yeah, and then when you add to that the Belt and Road Initiative, that, you know, China's, if they're going to be moving anything from China to Africa or from Africa to China, a lot of that stuff is going to be able to, in the future, go by way of railroad, by way of this Belt and Road that they're making. And Israel's going to middleman that. They're going to tax that. They're going to make a lot of money.
They also have a very high birth rate, especially for a technologically advanced country. So they're basically gearing up for like a Lebensraum expansion.
Yeah, it definitely seems that that's the way that things are going. And also,
one last thing about the gay ops, though, on like January 6th. So one thing that I learned that's really scary, honestly, is they have the feds. They have a technique where they can have like people infiltrate. And so they're feds, but they're confidential informants. But they're like so confidential that, so what they do is, let's say some guy gets busted for like guns. Well, instead of charging them for the guns, they'll say, okay, you're facing 25 years in prison for NFA violations, but don't worry, we're not going to pursue that. What you're going to do is you're going to commit, obstruction of an official proceeding on January 6th, and you're going to go in and you're going to commit some crimes, and we're going to send you to prison, but you're not going to go to prison for 25 years. You're going to go to prison for 3 years. Sound like a good plan? And so there are potentially people who seem totally legit because they actually went to prison, but who knows?
Interesting. Yeah, I think that's totally possible. We have yet to do an episode on the Oklahoma City bombing. I'd really like to do that. I still need to finish Wendy Painting's book, Aberration in the Heartland of the Real, but she makes a very convincing case that Timothy McVeigh was, they call it sheep dipping, basically where you've got somebody that's in the military or the intelligence community that gets thrown out. And in fact, they were not thrown out. That was cover. And they were still functioning on behalf of the American government, on behalf of the Army or the intelligence agencies. And it does seem like that's what was going on with Tim McVeigh.
I mean, honestly, if you buy the official narrative on Oklahoma City, you don't have an internal dialogue.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. Bro.
Like that's one of like their sloppiest jobs is the Oklahoma City bombing. Yeah, and that one cop just like, shot himself 2 times in the back of the head, half a mile away from his car on the side of the road in the middle of the night. Okay.
Right. That was the black cop, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. I forget his name. There was another book about that. The Medusa Files, perhaps, was the one where I read about that. Anyway.
And he jumped over barbed wire, I think, too.
Unbelievable. And this of course all harkens back. Here's a tweet from El Oso, Lopez Motorcars. Back in the 1980s, we had people like James Mitchell Rosenberg, who went by the name Jimmy Anderson, who was leading, I guess the Christian Defense League, right? The guy comes out, he dresses like a Nazi, he sounds like a crazy right-wing extremist, but really he is on the payroll of the Anti-Defamation League. He's there to make white Christian right-wing Americans look bad. I think that we're seeing this playbook come back out again with people like Jake Lang and others.
Jack Ruby was another cheap dip guy, right? Jacob Rubenstein, the Israeli arms trafficker.
Yeah, he was an Israeli arms trafficker. He was involved with the mafia, the Jewish mafia, the Kosher Nostra. That whole thing is pretty obvious too when you start getting into like what was going on when he got put in jail, right? The head, I forget what his name was, Jolly. What was his name? Jolly West, right? The guy that was the head of MK Ultra came in to see him, probably gave him some drugs, and he went totally crazy. Was raving about how there's a second Holocaust underway in America, and that he did what he did for the Jews, i.e., referring to the murder of Lee Harvey Oswald. It's totally. That whole saga is just man, it deserves an in-depth treatment. So wrapping up, what are your thoughts about activism in 2026? What are your thoughts about community organizing? How should patriotic Americans that love their country, that hate seeing what the regime has been doing, how would you, what kind of advice would you give to people who want to organize, who want to do something to push back? Is that far gone? Should you not even bother at this point and just focus on your family, your businesses? Or is there a way forward for activism in 2026 moving forward?
Yeah, so we were talking about this a little bit yesterday. I helped my friend Ryan Sanchez organize this Charlie Kirk vigil in Huntington Beach, which was supposed to be like a right-wing city. And it was like something I'd never seen before. There were like evangelicals who are going against us, supposedly evangelicals, we were saying like we need to crush the left because they're violent and killing people. And these people masquerading basically as moral fags were saying like, no, actually we need to just like be pacifist and be peaceful. It turns out these people were getting whipped up, number one, by the I don't think it was the Jewish Defense League, but it was like this American Israeli organization in Huntington. They actually declared Huntington Beach to be a sister city of a city in Israel. And also Antifa, like communists, anarchists, socialists were coming out from Detroit to influence the crowd, dressed up as MAGA people and rousing them against the organizers. And obviously there's nothing we can do. We can't push out people that have like MAGA hats. That would be like the weirdest optics ever, which obviously they knew. So after that, I was just like, this is getting like too weird. This is way above my pay grade. Someone way richer than me needs to like organize this stuff and make sure that, you know, they can't run gay ops by who knows who and who knows what. By the way, the Huntington Beach City Council, they denounced the protest, or not protest, but vigil, the first vigil. Then they had a second vigil that was like very normie coded, that like accomplished absolutely nothing, that obviously the city council were fine with. But the one that was actually attempting to organize young men in Orange County to potentially, you know, do something good, like, you know, who knows, start businesses, create fraternal brotherhoods. That one, they unanimously denounced. And I think that the city council is actually like 7 out of 7 conservative, right? So that definitely blackpilled me on anything like that. So I would say at this point, there's not really much else we can do than build, because we have a lot of smart people on our side, industrious people, and a lot of our guys are going to inherit a lot of wealth from delusional boomers. So, you know, that might not be the message that people are looking for. A lot of our guys are very energetic and want to do something. So I would just say, you know, maybe like join an active club or Patriot Front or some other kind of aligned organization and just meet people, hang out with people, you know, play pickup basketball with fellow-minded people, play a Dungeons and Dragons game. Like there's so much you can do, you know, just to make that connection so that we can have like a union of people. Because if we're atomized, a lot of people, they'll say like, oh, I've never met anybody who shares my views. And really that's like the worst thing, because we're social creatures. If you aren't organized, you're basically useless. People will be like, oh, these Antifa guys, they're like a bunch of twigs and, you know, they're little trolls. I could take one easily. And it's like, well, they have the police and the state, and there's 50 of them, and there's like one of you. So it doesn't matter how pathetic these people are. They're actually organized. And sure, that's facilitated by the state and by NGOs, but the point stands that if you're not organized, you're pretty well screwed in anything, not just in politics and business, in anything.
Right. I mean, it definitely seems like they want young men, you know, they want them wearing the Oculus glasses. They want them scrolling Twitter all the time. chatting with an AI sex bot instead of having a real girlfriend. They've put people into a digital cage where your emotions, your thoughts, the things that come across your feed affect how you feel, as opposed to living in the real world. I mean, it is very, very Matrix-esque in a way, where when you unplug, you kind of get offline, you meet with other normal people and you build stuff. Like, that's the way that it used to be. We used to have all of these different networks like the International Order of Oddfellows or the Ancient Order of Hibernians, or all of these different church groups that would help people get networked. It would help people with their businesses. If they needed jobs, they could go to their community, meet other people, and they wouldn't be alone. And it does seem like that is kind of an undervalued asset at this time. This type of real community organizing, real fraternal networks. I know that Meta Prime 001, got to give him a big shout out on Twitter. That's his big thing, pushing for people to create these types of fraternal networks. There's also places, and we are very blessed here in Idaho. We've got like the Old State Saloon, a bar owned by a based guy where you can actually go drink beer and meet people in a social setting. And they even do like mixers and stuff like that. I think they've got a big meeting tomorrow night. They're creating a new group for like investigating fraud in the state. So I got to give them a big shout out. We do have a couple of super chats for you. First up, let's see here. Hold on. Refreshing the page. Yeah, it's a light show today, guys. Book Track Grooves. Christian, have you ridden a horse?
Never.
Never ridden
Maybe
a
when I
horse.
was a kid.
How was the prison food?
I was lucky in that the food wasn't that bad.
Okay.
Most prisons, though, it's horrible. And in the detention center, when I first got arrested, I lost, I think, like 15 pounds over the course of a month. That's how bad the food was.
Jeez, that's unbelievable. Now, are you able to engage in your Second Amendment right after all of this?
Yes, as of the pardon.
Based. That's cool. And Book Track Grooves has another question. Christian, what types of policies do you think would be helpful for you and for others? Do you think we need our tech guys?
We definitely need our tech guys. The end of my book is kind of a polemic against the techno-feudalism that they're trying to institute. But I look at technology as a positive thing. I'm a techno-optimist. I like where some of the technology is going. If you're a smart person, if you have an internal dialogue, if you have some self-control, you can use technology for really cool things and make a lot of money doing it, like drone technology, 3D printing technology, AI. I'm very optimistic about all of that stuff. And I don't really understand people who are like super pessimistic about that kind of thing. It's made my life a lot better.
Yeah, I mean, for sure, the ability to like get on an app like was it Replit? There's a whole bunch of them, not paid by Replit, but if you want to give us money, we do need the money. No, kidding. But like you can get on these different apps, and it can help you code things. It can help you make apps, widgets, things on your computer that make life way easier. And it's kind of a new dawn. There's a lot of people that. I remember even like 5 years ago, I had a bunch of coder friends, and it was like, I don't know what I would do without them. And now that we have AI, it's like, actually, yeah, we don't need coders anymore. We just need people with the idea. I mean, maybe you need someone to go through and work out the bugs and stuff like that, but it's going to be crazy.
Anybody can be a Steve Jobs now. Maybe that's a little bit of an exaggeration, but like maybe soon anybody can literally be a Steve Jobs.
Yeah.
But to say, do we need our tech guys? I think that's like, to say yes is the ultimate understatement, because tech is basically our last gambit, because we're not going to take the state, and tech is going in a certain direction, and it's very easy to turn it in our direction and use tech to influence the culture to the extent where it doesn't really matter who's in charge, like Democrat or Republican. I believe that, Bitcoin is going to be a serious factor in our economy. Democrat or Republican, I believe that AI is going to be a serious factor in our economy. So if we can control that stuff, it really doesn't matter, for lack of a better word, who the goyim basically want to put into power for their bread and circuses, because all of the stuff that actually affects your life through technology will be controlled ideally by people that are friendly to us.
Yeah. And, we've also seen stuff like Emily Eukas's Will Stancil show. I don't know if you've had a chance to see the Christmas special on that. I was dying laughing. It's absolutely hysterical. If you haven't seen that, you've got to see it. But there is like a wave that at least I'm seeing of creators, people creating propaganda using AI, making apps. I mean, there's been a lot of good stuff I've seen from Andrew Torba, creating these different databases to be able to search for fraud, to be able to search for all these different handouts. I think they're even working on an app for people to be able to get government contracts, which is obviously an area where our people should be. We should be thinking about that type of thing because the state isn't changing anytime soon, clearly. And we've got to get with the program or we're going to get left behind. We got a couple other super chats. I'm just going to read real quick before we let you go, and then I'll read some commercials. Daniel Davis, 8607, sent $10 on YouTube. You guys are featured on YouTube's front page, just letting you know. Keep them coming. Thank you very much. $5 from Daniel Davis, 8607. Don't forget about Roseanne Boyland, who was beat to death by the cops on video and was still being beaten after she was dead. R.I.P. Jeez, I didn't even know about that.
That was one of the most gruesome videos of January 6th.
Jeez.
That was crazy.
I haven't even heard of this. This is,
and I think they blamed her death on like a drug overdose of like meth, which you can't even overdose on.
What the?
Like, they used like some total BS excuse, like, oh, she actually died from like pills, something stupid like that.
Oh, that's so tragic. Is there a full list of how many people died that day? That
I think it's like 5.
Jeez, that's unbelievable. It's absolute fucking shame what happened.
I have the list of all of them in like the very front of my book, of all the ones that I knew about. There might have been a couple since then that have come out, but I think it's at least 5. Right.
And of course, we've got, it's just so frustrating to see the narrative. Like, again, we'll deal with Venezuela on the Wednesday show, 6 p.m. Eastern. Tune in for that. But it's like to see the narrative around Venezuela, Maduro was a dictator. He did awful things to his people, blah, blah, blah. And it's like, what about the governor of Virginia in 2017? What about the mayor of D.C. during January 6th? What if Donald Trump sent an airlift over to Minnesota and picked up Tim Walz and threw him in prison for fraud?
Yeah, the way that these circuses are received, even by our guys, is really blackpilling, which is why I'm more white-pilled on the non-political solutions like tech, because I'm just when I see people's reaction to that, I'm like, man, this people is beyond saving if they think that this is going to benefit them in any way.
Right. I mean, gonna go out on a limb here, but I'm in 2 years, I do not think that what we just did to Maduro is going to have any effect on the American way of life whatsoever. And by the way, the oil reserves that they have in Venezuela, number one, that's going to take time to get up and running. And number two, our oil reserves in Alaska are much bigger than whatever was down in Venezuela. We are a net oil exporter. If we wanted to just give the world the middle finger when it comes to oil, natural gas, all this stuff, we could do that. We have enough to last 300 or 400 years here in the American heartland alone. So the people that are coping, because Donald Trump is coming out and saying, oh yeah, we're going there to take their oil. Actually, no, I don't think it had to do with the oil either. I think it has to do with Israel. I think it has to do with perhaps this narrative of closing the Straits of Hormuz, right? Because all of the markets are fake. All of the economic markets are fake. It's all about narrative control. And so now that we've got Venezuela, if the Iranians did decide to close the Straits of Hormuz, it's like, oh, well, we got Venezuela. And the markets go, hey, look at that. Great. And they don't tank or whatever the case may be. So I think that there's a lot of bullshit floating around there. John,
Venezuela is kind of across from Nigeria, right? And didn't we
Right.
also drop some bombs there? So I wonder if there's some kind of pipeline that they're trying to
Yeah.
accomplish there.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. It's very transparent. There's like nothing between Nigeria and the Gulf of Mexico but blue water. It's very transparent. John Chandler, 89, sent $20 on YouTube. Dave, I'm in the process of converting to the church and learned about the fake Sister Lucy conspiracy theory and was really blown away. Wondering if you can provide some insight on that. Thanks for the work you do, Rebecca and Cam. Yes, I'm going to let Christian go. I think we got one more super chat. I will discuss that for a bit. Let's see here. The Winged Hussar sent $10. I've not been familiar with Christian's story, so I appreciate him being here today. Yes, thank you. And Christian, this is from John Becker, 2394, who sent $25. Thank you for the big super chat. You mentioned only watching 2 or maybe 3 political shows. Wouldn't it be ideal to watch some more semi-independent ones like Sean Ryan or whoever? Just for a broader awareness. Keep it up, Dave. Great job. Yeah, I mean, do you want to watch the former Blackwater CIA guy, the Sean Ryan show?
Who was it? Sean Ryan?
Yeah.
I mean, I watched some clips. I think that's where I got the stat on the like the FBI not being serious about the sex trafficking. I don't really watch the show. I'll just like look at like clips that'll come on my feed.
Yeah.
But I honestly haven't really been following politics much at all. I've been locked in for 2026. I'm trying to get to whole coin status, you know?
Yeah, I know. It's like Rebecca's not here. We can finally talk about Bitcoin. And by the way, there's an angle on the Venezuela thing where, people are talking about taking their gold. Well, yeah, sure. They've got like $3-4 billion worth of gold. Are you aware of how much Bitcoin Venezuela has, Christian?
It was like $6 billion, right?
60 billion. They have over 600,000 Bitcoin in a wallet somewhere in Venezuela. There was a tweet about this. Let me see if I can pull this up. We're going to see the numbers on YouTube just plummeting. Oh, they're going after Bitcoin again. But there was an interesting post, and like no one's talking about it. This is from some account on X, but Venezuela has over 600,000 Bitcoin. It's almost as much as BlackRock and MicroStrategy. It's more than the United States government. So, I mean, maybe the silver lining here is that if we confiscate their Bitcoin and turn it into the strategic Bitcoin reserve, maybe I'd be okay with that.
But maybe we need to address the Salvadoran question. Are they this?
There's a really interesting thing too, right? Because I've been watching the rise of Nayib Bukele, right? He's the son of Palestinian refugees. But he's married to a Jewish woman, from what I understand, and he is surrounded by Zionist interests to the point that you'll remember early on in the Trump administration, they were talking about taking these students that were writing pro-Palestinian opinion pieces in their college newspapers, people like Mahmoud Khalil. They black bagged him and were threatening to send him to CICOT, which is the big prison down there in El Salvador.
Yeah, I remember that.
And also it kind of reinforces this weird alliance of like Catholic Zionists that we're seeing between the Opus Dei, who's taking money from the Tikva Foundation, Paul Singer, and all of these Zionist types down in D.C. And of course, that's aligned with Kevin Roberts from the Heritage Foundation, Leonard Leo from the Teneo Network. He's also, I think, involved with the Federalist Society, the people that choose the judges. And so there is definitely something going on. These Catholics should not be Zionists. That they are opposed to one another ideologically. We believe that the church is the new Israel. It's what all of the documentation say, the church fathers, St. John Chrysostom, all the way back. But there seems to be this kind of new wave of Catholic Zionists. And unfortunately, based Bitcoin bro dictator Nayib Bukele seems like he's in that camp. What are your thoughts on it?
Yeah, it's really weird, especially with like tech people who aren't even Jewish. They're like, a priori pro-Jewish and Israeli, even if they're not Jewish or even Christian. Like Peter Thiel, there doesn't really seem to be any reason why he could or should be pro-Zionist other than his business interests. Like you said, the Opus Dei people, which I think they're kind of like forward-thinking Catholics.
And of course, they were Opus Dei was founded as a part of anti-communist resistance during the Spanish Civil War. So you'd think that they would be a little bit more aware, but you can go all the way back and see Jose Maria Escriva, Saint Jose Maria Escriva, right? They abolished the devil's advocate to make him a saint, but he had very nice things to say about his Jewish friends, which is very weird. And of course, the Pope now, Pope Leo XIV, came out and said that we should be looking at tikkun olam and taking lessons from that. Tikkun olam, of course, is like this Jewish doctrine of healing the world, healing God, as if God had some sort of a defect, that there was something wrong with him that only the Jews can make right. Very, very weird to see those words coming out of the Pope's mouth. But anyway.
Well, I think if anything is clear from this administration, it's just that politics is very weird to the point where the intricacies of it are, like I said, beyond my pay grade. Some of the like more macro meta stuff, I'll be happy to analyze, but these like weird Game of Thrones power struggles in DC and New York, it's too much for me, and I don't want to get suicided, so I'm not gonna delve too deep into it.
True. Yeah, I have the switch doesn't work. Where I'm just like I like a dog with a bone. I'm just like, fuck it. I'm going down, and I don't care who gets in the way or who gets exposed. It's pretty funny. Christian, tell people where they can find you, where they can find your work. I know you have an X account, but you said you deleted it. Should people be actually?
Oh, that's not even my X account.
It's the wrong one.
I don't even know what that is.
J6 Christian.
Oh, that might be my. Yeah, it's just J6 Christian
On X.
Yeah, that's the one.
But are you even using it at this point?
No, I haven't been using it for a few months just because the Zionists took over X and ruined my feed. And after like a few weeks of that, I just got so frustrated. I deleted it. I was too lazy to mute everybody.
And of course, you're also over at counter-currents.com. You do some writing over there. And our friends over at Antelope Hill have his book, The American Regime. And if you use promo code Backlash10, you'll get 10% off. So Christian, thank you so much for joining us today.
And one last thing on the American regime, I believe that the second edition, which might be the first or second edition that Antelope Hill has ever come out with, that's coming out in what's the day? Might be tomorrow.
Nice. Very cool. So maybe hold off on buying it till tomorrow. We'll give you an update on that on Wednesday. But thank you so much for joining us. It's been a pleasure to talk to you today.
Yeah, no problem. Thanks for having me.
Cheers. All right. Well, we got through that without blonde. Very good. Hold on. Let me close that out. Geez, doing these solo shows live. This is now the second time. It's always nerve-wracking. It's nice to have someone there to talk while you're getting all the tech worked out and all the different screens. Anyway, we've got to give a big shout out to our sponsors, Idaho Tallow Company. They've got soap and skincare products with endocrine disruptors. No, without endocrine disruptors. Geez, what am I doing here? They've got soap and skincare products without endocrine disruptors. No unnatural fragrances. They're all, natural, holistic oils. I should really stick to the script on this one. Anyway, if you want soap and skincare that won't turn you gay, go to idahotallow.com. I know that they're going to be doing free shipping on orders over $100 in the near future again here soon. So stay tuned for that. We've also got to give a big shout out to atlasbullion.com/backlash. If you are concerned with the dollar, if you are concerned with hyperinflation, which it seems like it's around the corner, poking its head out, you might want to consider stacking gold and silver. And you can do that with our friends at Atlas Bullion. I put out a tweet the other day because there was all of this drama going on with Trax NYC. I don't know if you guys have seen that. He's this Jewish guy in the Diamond District of New York. And he has been raising hell on all of these other corrupt people in the Diamond District. A fight broke out. It's been going viral online. I don't know if you guys have seen this or not, but you know, it was interesting. I went on his website to see, okay, well, you sell gold and silver. What are we talking about here? And so on this Jewish guy's website, he's selling gold bullion, a 1 ounce gold American Eagle coin, and he's charging $6,470 for this bullion coin. Now, if you visit our friends at Atlas Bullion, for that exact same coin, you would be spending $4,502. So that's about a $2,000 markup, and he's the most honest Jew in the business. So listen, if you need to get gold and silver, visit our friends at Atlas Bullion. They're not going to rip you off. Of course, Antelope Hill, I think we have shouted them out a lot. We've got Above Time Coffee Roasters, who is a big sponsor of the show, and thank you for that. They do small batch coffee, roasted by hand, to order. It's not sitting around on a shelf. It's not getting any kind of, that's a problem with some of the big coffee companies is they'll roast the coffee and then they'll put it on a shelf and it gets moldy. And you don't know, but you're drinking moldy coffee. That's one of the things that Above Time Coffee Roasters does well is the hand-roasted small batch stuff so that you are getting the freshest coffee. I've been drinking it throughout the show. It's absolutely fantastic. Also got to give a big shout out to ODGG Supply. ODGG Supply is our preferred source for legit domestic and foreign military surplus gear that's been proven in conflicts across the globe and ready for your next adventure. The guys at ODGG Supply put the gear through its paces so you can count on quality the next time you are in the field. Using gear from all over Europe in the Cold War to modern U.S. military equipment from the global war on terror, from blankets to rucksacks, tools to clothes, ODGG Supply, more than any other military surplus store, functions on the functional gear that you need to thrive in the field, especially during a crisis. Follow ODGG Supply on YouTube at PNW_Gorilla, and on X at PNW Gorilla, and on Instagram at ODGG_Supply for the latest updates on sales and new-ish inventory. And if you use promo code Backlash25, you'll get free shipping on all U.S. orders. And of course, I didn't have it on the screen. There it is. Also, I think we got a couple of, if you have a last-minute super chat, please send them in. We will make sure that we get all of those read. Got to give a big shout-out to our friend Jason. Jason sent us a bunch of stuff from our Amazon wish list. We got, what did we get here? I've got some things that I'll read, but he got me a pipe. Thank you for a pipe. And he got me a pipe case so I can put my fine tobacco products in this nice little carrying case. So thank you for that, buddy. I will be using this later this week. We also got one of these DJI mics. So Rebecca and I think this summer, we're going to try to do some woman on the street interviews. And now we're going to be able to do that with some high quality mics so you can hear what people are saying. Thank you. And clips for hanging things in the background. Let's see. These things. They're very necessary for like hanging green screens and doing all kinds of stuff like that. And he also sent us, oh my God, one of these huge lights. So thank you very much, Jason. It's very much appreciated. We do still have a couple of items on our Amazon wish list, mostly like hard drives. But he said, Happy New Year. Reformed Baptists are pretty based, but boy, does their position regarding God, aka tulip, paint a hideous picture of God. Are you familiar with this and wish to opine? I don't know. I'm going to have to Google that. I don't know about tulip or what that means, but thank you. A pipe set for a modern defender while Rome fiddles. Enjoy a bowl of the great Spurgeon, a Protestant prince who knew true solace isn't found in sacraments but in Scripture, smoke, and a stout-hearted faith. Man, you gotta get up on G.K. Chesterton. G.K. Chesterton was a big pipe smoker too. Maybe that's a way that the Catholics and Protestants can come together is our mutual love of pipe smoking. And then he also sent a light stand. He said, for holding down the fort, You Catholics might have better aesthetics, but we Southern Baptists have the superior theology. Even if our own house needs some cleaning, it's a privilege to stand with and support you. From Jason. Thank you. And a belated Christmas present to assist in relaxation, I guess. Merry Christmas. Our Savior is born, from Jason. And, you know, speaking of Southern Baptists, and of course, I'm doing that with the wrong thing on the screen. Did you guys see it? I held it up, the light. There's the big light. Woo. There's a new book that has come out from J.D. Hall, who we've had on the show. I did a solo interview with him, Lost My Hats on Twitter, and he just came out with a brand new book for those of you in the Protestant sphere. The book is called The Hyphenated Heresy, Judeo-Christianity. It's co-written with him and Joel Webbin, who's been doing some fantastic work. It's now the number 2 bestseller in Christian historical theology on Amazon. So we are going to be working on getting him back on the show for an interview about his new book. Let's see. What else? What else are we missing? I think I saw another... Somebody raided the stream. What does that mean? I don't know what that means, but thank you for raiding the stream, I guess. I have no clue what this is. What is it? And let's see. I think that covers all of the super chats that we've gotten so far. Thank you for your support. Yeah, there was a super chat earlier about Sister Lucy. There is a website, if you're interested in it, sisterlucytruth.org. There is a lot of evidence that the seer of Fatima, Sister Lucy, was taken away and replaced with an imposter. It's absolutely crazy. A guy named Dr. Pete Hoynowski has done all of the work on this. He even got like dental records, AI facial recognition software on her face, and they've basically proven that whoever Sister Lucy was is not who was presented after 1960, that this woman disappeared, and that the message of Our Lady of Fatima has been obscured. So maybe we'll have to get Pete Hoynowski on the show. He lives here in North Idaho, a friend of mine, so we could do that. But yeah, check out sisterlucytruth.org if you are looking for more information on that. And with that, I think that we've covered all of our contractual obligations. Again, big shout out to Christian for coming on the show. And a big shout out to everybody who watched. I know Blonde wasn't here. She is, like I said, for those of you wondering why I'm doing a solo show, Rebecca has been stuck in her car for over a day. Her kids will not let her leave. They've been napping. And then Grok turned her into an Asian. So we'll see if she makes it back on Wednesday. No, I'm kidding. But thank you so much for watching. We'll be back on Wednesday with a big interview with James Fishback and, of course, Cameron McGregor. And we will be discussing the Venezuela situation. It's absolutely crazy. It looks like we're going to be hitting Cuba and Iran next. So stay tuned. Make sure you like the video, subscribe, hit the notification bell, follow us on TikTok, Instagram, Apple Podcasts, and we will see all of you on Wednesday. Bye-bye. Thanks.